It continues to be one of the most common themes among suggestions in the comments section. Review a good toy from this line that is typically considered to be bad. And, well, a lot of times I can't follow that because it's either something I did recently or it's from lines I don't have toys from anymore, like Transformers crossovers. I don't have any of them anymore, and the ones I do have are for Plastic Addict. But Beast Machines seems to be the one that comes up the most, and every time I see that, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. I've only reviewed one Beast Machines toy so far, and then I look in the shelves and realize I own like 6 Beast Machines toys total. So, yeah, I'm very limited as far as my options go, but I do still have examples of good Beast Machines toys, like so. This is Blast Punch Optimus Primal, a Mega Class toy, which is a size class that has not existed in a long, long time. This was basically Hasbro's apology figure. The first Beast Machines Primal was deluxe class, so it was smaller than most of the toys that he was supposed to be bigger than. It was all blue, featured a lot of different molding from what was seen in the show, which is always an interesting thing. The animators have to work with early examples of what the toy is going to look like. And then Hasbro goes and says, oh, we actually want to go in a different direction for how the toys are going to look and what size they're going to be. The animators are already half done, though. They can't change because they got deadlines, and then the toy makers have to go back and do it based on the animation. So they basically end up doing the same designs that they scrapped months before. And that's how the funny thing goes. But as for the toy itself, as you can see, it is a far more show-accurate depiction of Optimus Primal from Beast Machines. Far brighter in color scheme, and since a lot of this is actually his robot mode as well, there's a lot more orange and gold showing through than there is on the animation model's Beast mode. A lot less brown as well. A lot of the brown you will actually find located on the sides and the back, where a lot of fur molded detail is located. And this is where you get that silverback gorilla look. He's definitely got the posture for it, with the same kind of exaggerated spinal column that the Beast Machines model had, which really looks like it hurts now that I look at it. It's like super hunchback gorilla here with gigantic bum. But you can see the fur molding is all done really nice, and there is some as well on the arms, going all the way down into the forearms to the shoulders. A lot of paint apps going in this toy too. Some of it's a little bit thin, like there is none on the legs at all, but the arms get done pretty heavily. I like this pale gold they used for the fur on the forearms. That looks quite nice. Chromed knuckle dusters. Looks like gigantic bling. That just should say like Primal, shouldn't it? It just should read Primal right there. I like the airbrush blue too. There's a little bit of blue in the show model, so I'm glad there's a little bit touching it here and there. Breaks up those orange and brown earthy tones quite nicely. We get into the head. The head is an interesting design because it does keep this flat-sided thing that the show model did have. And while it's not completely accurate to the show, it is definitely trying. It's there. Something that's hard to see because it's hard to get the light in there. The eyes are completely white, but because of the way things work here, it's kind of hard to actually make that out, unfortunately. We can look into some of the gimmicks for the toy here as well, as long as we're zoomed in, because he can puppet. He's got a little button on his head that makes his face go up, so you can kind of get a snarling look out of him. Greetings, Transformer fans. I am Optimus Primal, and I am here to apologize for my last toy. It sucked monkey butt. It is late. You'll forgive me if I just go into random stupid. But as you can see, it's not bad. Like, it kind of works, and it's not going to make the most impressive transformation, but there you go. Since this is basically the robot mode, all the articulation is pretty much there. You get universal joints in both of the shoulders. No extra articulation here, but you do get a rotation in the forearm on this, and a little bit of elbow. Not a whole lot. This is stuck in for reasons we will get to once we get into robot mode. You get a wrist rotation, and that's about it. And really, that doesn't even feel like a joint I should be using. but is ironic because there is absolutely none on the other side. The fingers do articulate. You can actually move this hinge up and down, as well as, well, if it's slid in properly, which this one isn't, you can close the fists up a little bit. So there is a little bit of hand articulation as well. Nothing in the head. You do get a waist, and you do get ball-jointed hips. Because of the way the knees are hinged for this mode, no real knees working here. So that's kind of a bummer. So that's pretty much it for the beast mode. I mean, I could go into more of the little subtle molded details, like his toes actually do have toenails molded in, which is kind of creepy on a Transformer toy. Fingernails as well, and these gigantic meat hooks of his, which is hard to focus in on because it really wants to focus on his body. There you go. So they did work in a lot of little details to get across the organic as well as some of the techno-organic. So let's get this guy transformed, and we'll just see what he ended up looking like in the full robot mode. Now, the first thing we're going to do is rotate this around, because, yes, the joint does actually work. It's just, you'll see why it's a little bit weird to use. And we're actually going to just give him a completely new hand just by flipping things around. This is always like a weird part of the transformation for me, because like we are literally just like swapping up one shape for another. It's kind of bizarre. Hang on. Let's get this. No. I'm trying to be careful here because he's a tight, clear plastic hinge. Down there. There we go. I'm so like that was like the trademark of Beast Machines, translucent plastic, and you guys know my war against translucent plastic. So with those new hands out, we will fold the shoulders up, get his body into more correct orientation, extend the legs down to give us some knees and some good height. The feet switch the same way as the hands, flip around, slide forward, new toes, and far more robotic toes as well. From here, we'll open this up and split the chest open so the head can rotate all the way. The head can rotate. Don't give me this issue now. Like we rehearsed this, didn't we? Come on. I swear I just transformed this and it didn't give me any issue. Shoot, come on. Hang on. Close him up. There we go. Rotate the torso all the way. Flip the head up a little bit. Close the belly back up. And that gives us our Blast Punch Optimus Primal in his full glorious robot mode. Oh, rotate that up a little bit just so you can see. He's big and burly and actually quite awesome looking. Like, I'm really into this design. Like, I'm not too big on the Beast Machines aesthetic, but I will admit when it works, it works. So I kind of enjoy this figure. It's a little bit of a guilty pleasure. We'll start in with a head. Far more show accurate than the head from the deluxe toy. That's always a good thing. Again, the colors are much brighter than they are in the show, because it's still a kid's toy. It still has to appeal to the 8-year-old going through the aisle. But you can see they tried extra hard trying to make up for the last toy they released. You can also see there's really not a whole lot different. He's standing upright, some things are folded around, but it's pretty much the same toy. A lot of the same details, pretty much everything's still going the way it normally does. We will point out a few extra details in this mode now. The translucent plastic is in abundance here. And except for the hinge that thumb is on, not a whole lot of it's stress-bearing, though. So the translucents have actually held up pretty well on this one. I like that a lot of this stuff is being molded in from the inside out. Like, especially here. Like, all this detail on the side of the arm is actually on the inside of the plastic. That gives it a layered look that's much more interesting than just molding it on the outside. While we're around the arm section, I will show you his spark crystal with the maximal symbol is located inside that bicep. We will get back to that shortly. Everything else in the legs is pretty much what you saw before. You can see a little bit more of it clearly now. There's some robotic detail in the inner thigh, but that's pretty much the same. squared off toes now instead of the beast toes, and no more fingernails. So detail wise, pretty much got the same stuff going on. And articulation wise, again, still pretty much exactly the same. You know, we actually do get a head rotation now, so that's something. And the knees actually do work now. So that's pretty much the only addition you get. And the unfortunate thing is that while he is this big burly beast of a bot, and that's your alliteration for the episode, he doesn't really have a whole lot of upper body articulation, because that's pretty much all you get for the arm, and this arm is gimmick loaded, so we really can't do anything with it. So for all of his size and for his price point, not a whole lot of posability going on here. He makes up for it in just sheer tricks. Aside from that little mouth gimmick that he had in beast mode, we go to the back and flip this up to reveal some jet thrusters. So he can have those boosters in the back flying around like he did in the show. And that's a neat little detail they didn't have to include, but it's the extra effort that really makes a difference on a good toy. Speaking of, let's get to this, because this is one of the most involved gimmicks I've ever seen. So to start this gimmick, we have to actually prime the pump. And yes, I just did that completely as a pun, because he's Optimus. Here, listen to this. We actually have to charge up his gimmick. What I've just loaded up is this geared gimmick inside. A lot of springs are about to go off. A lot of gears are about to turn. And they'll start turning once I press the spark crystal. The idea is the gimmick will rotate his forearm around, hitting this switch. And once it hits the switch, the fist will launch forward by a good inch, and then subsequently fire a missile from his palm, just like it did in the show. It's meant to recreate his energy firing gimmick, or his energy firing abilities in the show. And it's a really cool effect. So I will let you watch it for yourselves. Okay then, important thing to note. This toy is 15 years old, and I apologize to my audience members who now feel older than they did a minute ago. With age comes a few things that change in the internals. Some springs might get loose. Some springs, I think, and this is the case, get a lot stiffer over time. So this, which would normally be a little bit more of a hair trigger and easy for that forearm to push down, now takes kind of a bit of force in order to actually get it to launch the hand. So that's probably what went on here. It is really unfortunate, because that's a lot of stuff working that gimmick. I like that it doesn't impede in the robot modes, for the most part, the articulation, because it does limit the elbow. But shoulder still works, wrist still works. So they did try, and it would have been an unintrusive gimmick when it worked. For its age, no, it unfortunately does not. But you can still do it manually, which we will at least show that. So that's where the blast punch part comes in, and you can fold this down too, just so you can actually punch a Predacon or Viacon with it. And of course, you can see the missile hole here, which would launch the missile from his forearm in a fake plasma bursty effect, which of course I'm not going to do on camera, because as we all know, when you launch a missile and you're not paying attention to where it's going, it gets lost. Hey, you try coming up with a new one every single time. I'm not made of these jokes, people. So that's pretty much what you get out of Blast Punch Primal. He's far more accurate, far bulkier, more size appropriate for his toy line, loaded with some gimmicks that kind of don't age well. But I would categorize him as a good Beast Machines toy in spite of his flaws. I think he comes with a lot of style and a lot of improvements over his original outing. Now, he's no Air Attack Primal, which is a whole nother barrel of monkeys. It's a barrel I do not own, actually, so I think this might be our last foray into Primals until I get around to the Deluxe. And you can probably guess what series that's for, given my opinion of it here.